In the gleaming spires of Lyria Prime, Ambassador Ven Turrell stared at the emergency transmission display with trembling hands. The holographic feed showed entire cities reduced to ash on their outer colonies. The Dominion, a species that had lurked at the edges of known space for centuries, had finally revealed their true nature. The Lyrians had always prided themselves on their technological achievements and peaceful expansion. Their crystalline ships were works of art, their cities marvels of engineering that worked in harmony with nature. But now, their advanced civilization faced extinction. The Dominion fleet has breached the Helios defense line, reported Defense Coordinator Mira. Their biomechanical ships they're consuming our vessels, Ambassador. Converting them into more Dominion crafts. Ven's iridescent scales darkened with distress, a visible sign of the fear coursing through him. The Lyrians had encountered the Dominion before, but only as silent observers. No one had expected them to emerge from their territory with such devastating force. Send the emergency broadcasts, Ven ordered. Contact every major spacefaring race. The Arcadians, the Collective, the Meridian Consortium, surely someone will help. The responses came quickly, but each brought only despair. The Arcadians cited non-interference protocols. The Collective claimed strategic necessity in maintaining neutrality. The Consortium simply shut down communications entirely. As hope dwindled, Mira discovered an unexpected signal. Ambassador, we're receiving a response, from Earth. Ven's antenna twitched in surprise. Earth was barely a spacefaring civilization, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 15 years ago. The Lyrians had observed them from afar but hadn't yet established formal contact. Humans were considered too unpredictable, too volatile for the measured pace of galactic diplomacy. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a human woman in a crisp uniform. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet. We've received your distress call, Ambassador Turrell. Though we haven't formally met, we've been monitoring the situation. Earth stands ready to assist. Ven's diplomatic training couldn't hide his shock. Admiral Chen, while we appreciate your offer, you should understand, the Dominion's technology far exceeds current human capabilities. Their biomechanical ships can adapt to any conventional weapon. Helping us would mean facing extinction yourselves. Sarah's expression remained resolute. We understand the risks, Ambassador. But we've reviewed the footage of what they're doing to your people. Earth cannot, will not, stand by while an entire civilization is erased. Humanity knows too well the cost of silence in the face of genocide. Before Ven could respond, Myra's console erupted with alerts. Ambassador. The Dominion has breached the inner defense ring. They're approaching the civilian evacuation corridors. Sarah's voice cut through the chaos. Ambassador, we don't have time for formal protocols. My fleet is ready to deploy. We may be technologically outmatched, but humanity has experience fighting against superior forces. Sometimes the strongest weapon isn't technology, it's the will to stand up for what's right. Ven looked at the tactical display, watching more Lyrian ships fall to the Dominion's assault. Their crystalline vessels, once beautiful symbols of their civilization's achievement, shattered like glass against the Dominion's relentless advance. In that moment, he made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Admiral Chen, we accept Earth's assistance. But you must understand what you're committing to. The Dominion doesn't just defeat their enemies, they absorb them, convert them, erase every trace of their existence. Then we'll have to make sure they don't win, Sarah replied. The Earth fleet will arrive in 6 hours. Hold your position as best you can. An ambassador. This is humanity's first official contact with your species. I apologize that it has to be under these circumstances. As the transmission ended, Ven turned to Mira. Coordinate with Earth's fleet. Share all our tactical data, defense protocols, everything we know about the Dominion. Sir, Mira hesitated, the other races, they're still watching. Still refusing to act. Why would humans, who barely know us, risk everything? Ven watched as the first wave of Earth ships appeared on their long-range scanners. They were crude by Lyrian standards, all sharp angles and practical design, so different from the elegant crystalline vessels of his people. Yet they carried something the other races had forgotten, the courage to act when action was needed most. Perhaps, Ven said quietly, that's exactly why they're helping. Because sometimes the youngest voices remember truths the old have forgotten. The next 6 hours would prove crucial. As the Dominion pressed their attack, the Lyrians fought desperately to protect their evacuation corridors. They watched in wonder as the human fleet grew closer, knowing that these strangers from Earth had chosen to risk everything for a people they'd never met. The battle for Lyria Prime was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history, one where humanity would show the galaxy that true civilization isn't measured by technological advancement, but by the willingness to stand up for others in their darkest hour. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood at the helm of the UES Defiant, watching the massive Dominion warships through the main viewport. Their biomechanical hulls pulsed with an eerie, organic light that made her skin crawl. She'd fought pirates in the Kuiper Belt and faced down corporate mercenaries, but nothing had prepared her for this. All hands, battle stations, she ordered, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. Engineering, divert all non-essential power to shields. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, but Maya could sense their tension. Earth's first major interstellar war was about to begin, and they were facing an enemy that had made other advanced civilizations cower in fear. Captain, her tactical officer, Lieutenant James Chen, called out. Receiving real-time data from Lyrian Defense Command. They're crystalline ships, they're not just beautiful, they're technological marvels. But the Dominion, they're literally consuming them, breaking them down at the molecular level. Maya studied the tactical display, watching the elegant Lyrian vessels try to hold their defense lines. They're fighting like we would expect them to, structured, organized, predictable. That's exactly why they're losing. Time to show them how humans wage war. She opened a channel to the rest of the Earth fleet. All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez. Forget everything you know about conventional space combat. The Dominion expects us to fight like the Lyrians, to maintain formation and follow textbook strategies. We're going to disappoint them. The first wave of Dominion ships approached, their biological weapons already adapting to the Lyrian defenses. Maya allowed herself a grim smile. Implement Operation Chaos. Break formation, randomize shield frequencies, and execute attack pattern Sierra 9. The Earth fleet scattered like startled birds, each ship taking an apparently random vector. The Dominion ships hesitated, their tactical computers struggling to predict the humans' seemingly erratic movements. Now! Maya ordered. The scattered Earth ships suddenly converged from multiple angles, their weapons firing in concentrated bursts. The Dominion's adaptive shields, calibrated for the Lyrians' predictable attack patterns, couldn't adjust quickly enough to the constantly changing angles and frequencies. Several Dominion ships erupted in flames before their biological systems could adapt. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining enemy vessels began to pulse with new patterns, their surfaces morphing to create stronger defenses. They're learning, James reported grimly. Adapting faster than we anticipated. Maya watched as a nearby Earth cruiser exploded under Dominion fire. That's the difference between us and them, Lieutenant. They adapt through their technology. We adapt through innovation and sheer human stubbornness. On the Lyrian command ship, Ambassador Ven watched in amazement as the human fleet engaged the Dominion. Their tactics, they're unlike anything we've seen. No coordination, no standard formations, yet somehow. They're effective, Mira finished, her scales shimmering with excitement. Look how they're attacking from constantly changing vectors, forcing the Dominion to adapt repeatedly instead of allowing them to optimize their defenses. The battle raged for hours. Earth ships fought with desperate creativity, using debris as cover, executing manual overrides to push their engines beyond safety limits, and implementing tactics that seemed to defy basic combat logic. They took heavy losses, but they also achieved something remarkable: they made the Dominion bleed. Maya's ship shuddered as another blast struck their shields. Damage report. Shields at 30%, hull breaches on decks 3 through 5, James reported. But Captain, look, the Lyrians are changing their tactics. They're copying us. Sure enough, the crystalline ships had broken their rigid formations. They were now moving more organically, their attacks becoming less predictable. The combined chaos of human and Lyrian ships fighting together was beginning to overwhelm the Dominion's ability to adapt. Send to all ships, Maya ordered. Fall back to defensive position Delta. We've bought the evacuees enough time, now we protect their retreat. As the Earth fleet regrouped around the civilian evacuation corridors, Maya received a transmission from Admiral Chen. Captain Rodriguez, the Lyrian High Council is safely away. But we've lost 30% of our fleet, and the Dominion is still coming. Maya watched as her crew tended to their wounded and rushed to repair critical systems. They were exhausted, scared, but still fighting. Admiral, request permission to implement Phase 2. There was a pause before Chen responded. The Lyrians say it's suicide. Their simulations show zero chance of success. Good thing humans don't believe in their simulations, Maya replied. We've proven we can hurt them. Now it's time to show them why you don't corner a species that turned their own planet's radioactive materials into weapons. The Admiral's voice carried a note of pride. Permission granted, Captain. Show them what humanity does when backed into a corner. Maya turned to her crew. All hands, prepare for Phase 2. And someone get me a direct line to Lyrian engineering. It's time to teach our new allies about humanity's greatest skill, turning impossible situations into improbable victories. The Dominion had started this war expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened something they couldn't factor into their calculations: humanity's relentless determination to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The real battle was just beginning, and Earth was about to demonstrate why sometimes the most dangerous species aren't the most advanced, they're the ones with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. Dr. Samira Patel stood in the hybrid laboratory aboard the UES Challenger, surrounded by a mix of human and Lyrian scientists. The room hummed with energy as crystalline technology merged with Earth's more practical designs. Holographic displays showed the ongoing battles across 3 star systems, humanity's desperate defense against the Dominion's relentless advance. The problem isn't just their technological superiority, Samira explained, manipulating a 3D model of a Dominion vessel. It's their ability to adapt. But there's something we've noticed, a pattern in their evolution. Chief Science Officer ZYRL of the Lyrians moved closer, his crystalline appendages reflecting the holographic light. We've studied their adaptation mechanisms for decades. They always find the optimal response to any attack. Exactly, Samira smiled. They find the optimal response. But humans rarely use the optimal approach. We're messy, inefficient, and sometimes that's our greatest strength. The laboratory door slid open as Captain Rodriguez entered, still wearing her battle-scarred uniform. Tell me you have something, Dr. Patel. We just lost the Ganymede colony. 3,000 civilians barely made it out. Samira gestured to a strange device in the center of the lab. It looked like a Lyrian crystal matrix had been forcibly merged with human plasma technology, ugly but functional. We're calling it the Chaos Engine. The Dominion's adaptive capabilities work by analyzing patterns and developing perfect countermeasures. So we're going to give them something their biological computers can't process: controlled chaos. The concept is fascinating, ZYRL admitted, though his tone carried doubt. But our simulations show dash. With respect, Chief ZYRL, Maya interrupted, your simulations also showed we couldn't hurt them at all. Yet we've destroyed 17 of their ships in the past week. Samira activated the device. The crystal matrix began pulsing with irregular energy patterns, each pulse slightly different from the last. Their biological computers work on predictive algorithms. Even when we appear random, they can eventually detect the underlying patterns. But this hybrid technology genuinely generates quantum uncertainty. Every energy pulse is truly random, at the quantum level. How does that help us win? Maya asked, watching the pulsing lights. Because their ships will try to adapt to each pulse individually, ZYRL suddenly realized, his scales brightening with excitement. They'll be caught in an endless loop of adaptation, never able to establish an effective defense. The ship's alert system blared before Samira could respond. Dominion fleet detected, the AI announced. 3 minutes to engagement. Maya straightened her uniform. How long to install this on our weapon systems? It's not ready for ZYRL began. 2 minutes if we bypass safety protocols, Samira cut in. But Captain, this is completely untested. The power requirements alone could burn out our engines. Then we better not miss, Maya replied. Do it. The next 2 minutes were a blur of activity as engineering teams rushed to integrate the Chaos Engine into the Challenger's main weapons array. Warning lights flashed across every console as power systems struggled to handle the irregular energy patterns. Dominion ships entering weapons range, Tactical reported. Their adaptation protocols are active. They're already modifying their shields based on our previous encounters. Maya took her command chair. Dr. Patel, Chief ZYRL, I hope your theory works. All hands, battle stations. Prepare to fire on my mark. The Dominion ships approached in their usual perfect formation, their biological hulls already shifting to counter expected human tactics. The Challenger's engines groaned as the Chaos Engine drew more power. Fire. The Challenger's weapons released a burst of energy unlike anything seen before in space combat. Each pulse was unique, carrying random quantum signatures that defied prediction. They watched as the energy struck the lead Dominion ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessel's hull began to ripple erratically. Its biological computers tried to adapt, shifting defenses rapidly, but each change left it vulnerable to the next random pulse. Within seconds, the ship's adaptive capabilities went into overdrive, trying to counter too many variables at once. Their shields are failing. Samira shouted, watching the data stream. The biological computers are overloading. The Dominion ship's hull suddenly crystallized, its adaptive systems frozen in mid-transformation. Secondary explosions rippled across its surface before it broke apart completely. Send the weapon specifications to all Earth and Lyrian ships, Maya ordered. Priority transmis dash. The ship rocked violently. Multiple hull breaches, Tactical reported. The Chaos Engine is overloading our systems. Samira rushed to her console, fingers flying over the controls. The power requirements are too high. We can't maintain this level of output. We don't need to, ZYRL said suddenly. His crystalline appendages connected directly with the ship's systems, channeling energy in ways human technology never could. We just need to last long enough to share what we've learned. Maya watched as more Dominion ships approached, even as her own vessel systems began to fail. They had found a weakness, not enough to win the war, but enough to prove the Dominion weren't invincible. More importantly, they had proven that humans and Lyrians working together could achieve what neither could alone. All hands, prepare to abandon ship, Maya ordered. But first, we're going to make sure our discovery doesn't go to waste. Plot collision course with the nearest Dominion vessel. Let's see how their biological computers handle a Chaos Engine going critical in their face. As evacuation alarms blared through the dying ship, Samira looked at her hybrid creation. It wasn't beautiful like Lyrian technology, or perfectly adapted like the Dominions. It was messy, dangerous, and barely controlled, just like humanity itself. And perhaps that was exactly what this war needed. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the combined Earth-Lyrian War Council, her holographic form projected simultaneously in command centers across both fleets. The tactical displays behind her showed something unprecedented: Dominion ships in retreat. The Chaos Engine technology was just the beginning, she announced. Thanks to Captain Rodriguez's sacrifice, we now know the Dominion's adaptive capabilities can be overwhelmed. But more importantly, we've learned something about ourselves. The room was a stark contrast of styles: austere human military officers beside luminescent Lyrian leaders. Yet after months of fighting together, the differences seemed less important than what united them. The Dominion expected us to fight like the Lyrians, Sarah continued. When we didn't, they expected us to fight like humans. Instead, we've become something new, something they can't predict because it's never existed before. Fleet Commander Trell, his crystalline form shimmering with battle scars, stepped forward. The other races are watching. The Arcadian Empire has reached out, unofficially. They're curious about how a primitive species has managed to bloody the Dominion's nose. Let them watch, Sarah replied. Phase 3 begins today. The displays shifted to show a new vessel under construction in Earth's orbital shipyards. It looked like someone had merged a human dreadnought with a Lyrian crystal ship, ugly but undeniably powerful. The UES Phoenix, Sarah announced. The first true hybrid warship. Lyrian crystal matrices providing power to human weapons systems. Your precision targeting linked to our unpredictable tactics. But most importantly, multiple chaos engines working in concert, controlled by a joint human-Lyrian crew. The power requirements are enormous, one of the human engineers pointed out. Even with Lyrian crystal technology, we're pushing the limits of what's possible. Limits exist to be broken, Sarah said. That's something we've taught our Lyrian friends, just as they've taught us that precision has its place. This ship represents everything the Dominion fears: species working together, becoming stronger than the sum of their parts. The council chambers erupted in discussion, but a new alert cut through the noise. A Dominion fleet had been detected, larger than any they'd faced before, heading toward the combined Earth-Lyrian defense line. They know what we're building, Trell said. They're trying to stop us before the Phoenix is ready. Sarah's expression hardened. Then we give them something else to worry about. All ships, implement Operation Starburst. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. Earth and Lyrian ships moved in perfect asymmetry, crystal vessels providing precision fire support while human ships executed seemingly random attack patterns. Each fleet covered the other's weaknesses, creating a defense that was both beautiful and terrible to behold. The Dominion attacked with desperate fury, their ships trying to adapt to two different combat styles simultaneously. But every time their biological computers thought they'd found a pattern, it changed. Human unpredictability merged with Lyrian precision in ways their adaptive algorithms couldn't process. Multiple Dominion ships showing signs of systemic failure, Tactical reported. Their adaptation protocols are conflicting, causing cascading errors in their biological systems. Sarah watched as the enemy fleet began to break formation for the first time since the war began. They're not just retreating, she realized. They're scared. Push the advantage. All ships, forward. The combined fleet surged forward, pressing their attack. Lyrian crystal ships channeled energy to human vessels, allowing them to fire their chaos-enhanced weapons longer than ever before. Human ships provided covering fire while Lyrian vessels executed precise strikes at newly vulnerable points in Dominion hulls. But victory came with a cost. Dozens of ships from both fleets were lost, their sacrifices buying time for others to press the attack. Yet even in death, human and Lyrian crews fought together, some deliberately overloading their reactors to take enemy ships with them. As the battle reached its peak, a new signal appeared on the tactical displays. Ships were arriving, but not Dominion reinforcements. The Arcadian Empire had finally chosen a side. "This is High Commander Vex of the Arcadian Fleet," a new voice announced across all channels. "We have watched humanity stand with the Lyrians when all others stood aside. We have seen them share technology, sacrifice their lives, and defy impossible odds. The Arcadian Empire stands with Earth and Lyria." Sarah allowed herself a small smile as Arcadian warships joined the fight. The Dominion had sought to prevent cooperation between species, seeing it as a threat to their supremacy. Instead, their actions had catalyzed exactly what they feared most. "The Phoenix will be ready in 3 days," her engineering chief reported. "But Admiral, the Dominion won't wait that long to strike back." "No," Sarah agreed, watching the enemy fleet retreat. "They won't. But for the first time, we're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to win. And thanks to Captain Rodriguez and countless others like her, we finally know how." The tactical display showed more signals appearing at the edge of sensor range. Other races, inspired by humanity's stand and the Arcadians' decision, were finally choosing sides. The galaxy was waking up, realizing that some battles were worth the cost. The war wasn't over, but something fundamental had changed. The Dominion had built their empire on the assumption that different species could never truly work together. Humanity had proven them wrong, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through their willingness to reach across the divide of species and create something new. The UES Phoenix hung in space like a dream made real, a perfect fusion of human and Lyrian engineering. Its crystalline sections pulsed with energy while its human-designed weapons arrays hummed with barely contained power. On its bridge, human and Lyrian crew members worked side by side, their differences forgotten in pursuit of a common goal. Commander Elena Santos, chosen to lead this hybrid vessel, stood at its helm. Her second-in-command, Lyrian Strategic Officer Ken, monitored the tactical displays showing the massive Dominion armada approaching Earth. "They're desperate," Ken observed, his crystalline form reflecting the console lights. "They've committed their entire remaining fleet to this attack." Elena nodded. "They've realized what we represent. Not just a military threat, but the end of everything they believe in. The Dominion built their empire on the idea that species should remain separate, that cooperation makes us weak. We're proving them wrong with every breath we take." The Phoenix wasn't alone. Behind it, a fleet unlike any the galaxy had ever seen assembled for battle. Earth ships flew alongside Lyrian crystal vessels. Arcadian dreadnoughts moved in formation with ships from a dozen other species that had finally chosen to stand against the Dominion. Admiral Chen's voice came through the command channel. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. The Dominion believes they can break our alliance by forcing us to defend Earth. They think under pressure, we'll turn on each other. Let's show them how wrong they are." The Dominion fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel like a biological storm, thousands of ships, their hulls writhing with adaptive armor. Their message was broadcast on all frequencies: "Surrender Earth, and the rest will be spared. Resist, and watch your homeworld burn." Elena's response was to activate the Phoenix's hybrid systems. Crystal matrices merged with human technology, creating something entirely new. All hands, battle stations. Chaos engine systems to full power. Show them what unity really means. The battle for Earth began with a sight that would be remembered for generations. The Phoenix led the charge, its hybrid weapons releasing bursts of crystal-enhanced chaos energy that tore through Dominion adaptive shields like they were paper. Behind it, ships from every allied species followed, each contributing their unique strengths to the fight. Multiple Dominion ships showing critical system failures, Ken reported. Their biological computers can't process our combined attack patterns. They're trying to retreat. Not this time, Elena said grimly. All ships, execute Operation Unity. Show them what happens when the galaxy stands together. The Allied fleet moved as one, implementing battle strategies that merged the best of each species' tactics. Human unpredictability combined with Lyrian precision, Arcadian power merged with the subtle techniques of a dozen other races. The Dominion fleet, designed to adapt to single patterns of attack, found itself overwhelmed by the sheer diversity of its opponents. In the midst of battle, Elena received an unexpected signal. "Commander," Ken called out, "we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Dominion flagship. They're trying to trigger some kind of biological weapon." "Not on our watch," Elena responded. "Phoenix Actual to all ships, the enemy flagship is our primary target. Whatever they're planning ends now." The Phoenix surged forward, its hybrid systems pushing far beyond their designed limits. Crystal matrices cracked under the strain, but held together through Lyrian engineering. Human-designed weapons blazed with power channeled through alien technology. "Multiple hull breaches," someone shouted. "We're losing structural integrity." Elena gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered. "Route all power to forward weapons. Calculate firing solution for their primary reactor." "Commander," Ken warned, "at this range, the blast will destroy us too." Elena looked around her bridge, humans and Lyrians working together, fighting together, maybe dying together. "Then we die proving everything they feared about unity was true." Fire. The Phoenix's final shot was beautiful, a perfect blend of human and Lyrian technology, enhanced by everything they'd learned fighting together. It struck the Dominion flagship's reactor with surgical precision, triggering a chain reaction that ripped the massive ship apart. As the flagship exploded, something unexpected happened. Rather than scatter, the remaining Allied ships moved to protect the Phoenix, working together to shield it from the blast. Lyrian crystal ships projected energy barriers while human vessels provided physical cover. When the explosion cleared, the Phoenix was damaged but intact, saved by the very unity the Dominion had sought to prevent. Across the battlefield, the remaining enemy ships began to power down their weapons. "They're surrendering," Ken announced, his voice filled with disbelief. "The Dominion, they're actually surrendering." Elena watched as the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known laid down their arms, defeated not by superior technology or overwhelming force, but by the power of different species choosing to stand together. Admiral Chen's voice came through once more, "To all ships, victory confirmed. The Dominion fleet has surrendered. Earth is safe. The galaxy is safe." In the days that followed, as the Allied species began the work of rebuilding, something profound became clear. The Dominion's defeat had ushered in a new age, one where cooperation between species wasn't just possible, but essential. The Phoenix became a symbol of this new era. Its scarred hull and hybrid systems stood as testament to what could be achieved when different species chose to work together. More importantly, it reminded the galaxy of the species that had made it all possible, humans, who had the courage to stand up when others stood aside, and the wisdom to know that true strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. As Elena looked out at Earth from her damaged but proud ship, she remembered Captain Rodriguez's last words before the Challenger's sacrifice: "The greatest victory isn't destroying your enemy. It's proving them wrong about who you are." Humanity had done exactly that. They had proven that being young didn't mean being weak, that being different didn't mean being divided, and that sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one with the best technology, it's the one that remembers what really matters: the courage to stand up for others, the strength to remain united in the face of fear, and the wisdom to know that we are always stronger together than we are alone.